And this week's main event, my friend, pour one out, put some flowers on the gravestone. R.I.P. Paul Heyman. Jacob Fatu and the Bloodline, the new Bloodline, put that man through a table, and he did not land well. And listen,
God, poor man.
Listen, props to Paul. You've talked about Heyman a lot on this show and how great the acting is and how great his promos are and how he's really holding up this Solo Sikoa as a monster storyline. And that sealed the deal. Him saying, you are not my tribal chief. Well, one of the biggest pops I've heard in a long time. And then they put him through a table, my friend. And I am head over heels buying this stuff now. And I cannot wait for Roman to return. We want Roman chance. I deserve it. What do you think?
Well, I remember it was like months ago that you said you weren't all that interested in like the new Bloodline versus the old Bloodline. It took a segment like this, and it's mainly because of Paul Heyman, and he's not an active wrestler. It's him refusing to sleep before the show so he could show up looking like you got hit by a truck. His eyes were like 3 times bigger than they usually are somehow, and his face is scruff. He's just unbelievable. Like the commitment to the craft, as a manager, is legendary. Like I wish like wrestlers took note like of that guy's facial expressions. It looked like he was dying every time. Like it was just great, beautiful, national treasure. I've said it 100 times. I'll continue to say it. Just cannot be understated how great Paul Heyman is as a promo and a manager. He just sold that entire angle, and without Roman Reigns around, he's just sold this whole thing for months. But yeah, it was a wonderful segment. Jacob Fatu again looks like an absolute monster. Solo Sikoa, I don't buy him as the tribal chief, unfortunately. The new tribal chief, I think that's going to be The Rock. Eventually, we'll get to that. I think The Rock is going to be the actual tribal chief of the new Bloodline because he's jealous of Roman Reigns or whatever that storyline will be. But I'm guessing Roman Reigns isn't coming back until SummerSlam. We're not going to see him at Money in the Bank, that 6-man tag. And in the meantime, I don't know when we'll see Paul Heyman again, but just what an absolutely epic segment. It was in Madison Square Garden, the sold out Madison Square Garden, and Paul Heyman main evented. It's just beautiful. It's absolutely awesome. I don't understand why Nick Aldis had Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens and Randy Orton taken out of the building by the New York Police Department at the beginning of the show. That seemed a little excessive, but whatever, it worked just to get everybody out so the Bloodline could attack Paul Heyman. It worked for me. It was awesome. It was my favorite segment of the week. Yeah.
And it leads to a great Money in the Bank match. We'll break down Money in the Bank in a second, but you did bring up The Rock, and I do want to talk about we were finally getting that documentary from WWE from WrestleMania, from the weekends leading up to WrestleMania. We're getting the perspective of all the players in that main event match, and I mean, a lot of storylines are coming out, my friend, but you do have a nitpick with one of them.
Yeah, just The Rock. He said they said this originally. I've heard this a bunch, but just seeing The Rock say it with like a straight face, like, look, I decided to back out of the main event. I care these Cody crybabies, these Cody fans, whatever small segment, he had to say, whatever small segment that is that was disappointed, I want to make sure that they're taken care of. Hey, idiot. We've been invested in a story for 2 years, and you show up out of nowhere and say, give me that main event. No, screw you. That's what the reaction was. That you, even if Stone Cold did that, you can't just take away something that fans have been sitting and waiting for 2 years. Didn't matter how big The Rock was. He thought he was bigger than everybody in the company, in my opinion. In that moment, tried to steal the WrestleMania main event for himself. It makes so much more sense now to do it at WrestleMania 41 with this storyline. It makes 41 with this. It makes so much more sense now, but I just totally don't buy that The Rock, just an egoless man here, The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, no ego whatsoever, just said, you know what? These Cody fans, they deserve this moment. Let me step aside. I don't think it went down like that. I think the sheer magnitude of the negative reaction forced his hand. He didn't come up with the idea. He just looked at everybody saying, this sucks, and said, well, Jesus, maybe I should be a heel.
I've really enjoyed most of the WWE documentaries that they do, even like the stupid table for 3 stuff. I really enjoy when we see these wrestlers sort of out of their elements, you know what I mean? And like telling their own stories, telling their tales. But this one in particular, man, I got to say, and I think you're speaking to it, I think there's a reason that we were told this documentary was coming out and then it was delayed for 72 months before it actually came out, because I believe they were trying to figure out how to make this into a work. I think we were trying to, tell the story in a certain way here. And it wasn't necessarily a documentary as much as it was like another way of storytelling, adding to the chapter of what this whole thing was going to be. Because I agree with you. The Rock saying he took himself out, blah, 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 the small section of Cody crybabies. I also think that them kind of planting that Cody pointing at Roman after he won the WrestleMania thing was a surprise. No, it wasn't. It was. You cannot tell me that Cody went into business for himself. That him pointing at Roman Reigns was a shock and awe thing. Like, wait, he was supposed to pick who? Who was he supposed to pick?
Why was Roman up there?
To pick. You booked this whole thing. So I want to say that this might have been the plan the whole time. And Triple H and the other WWE people are trying to figure out how do we make this into a story that we can use play off of later down the line. So I just want to say, when you're watching this, documentary might be holding a lot of weight of what an actual documentary is. Did you find that moment at all surprising?
I'm the Mr. WWE guy, right? Like Triple H, not a huge fan. I think I've hinted at that. I don't dislike him, but they have this weird obsession with like filming like action shots of him walking in the documentary with his little water jug. And it just was like driving me insane. It's like every time he's got his little water jug and he's walking to it's like, I get it. You're a big business guy. You're important. Like, it just felt like a giant PR piece. I didn't feel like a documentary feel. I feel like this was a WWE produced thing that just had a I don't know, I can't find the word. Just bullshit. The whole thing felt bullshit to me. Majority of it, and I just didn't believe it. It's entertaining. They're all great speakers. The Rock sitting up there with the glasses and the tight, just like Mr. Like, it's just running for president. He looked like it's just ridiculous. The weight they put on this WrestleMania event, like it changed the world. That it's a little overbearing. That was my takeaway. It's like, my God, it's a WrestleMania event where nobody cured cancer here. Like, will you shut up? Like, that's what my takeaway from it. It's a little like pompous. You do get a whiff of pompousness when you watch a WWE documentary by them with Bruce Pritchard there. The way Triple H books, just shut. All right, we get it.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, that's